everybody, come on in and take your seats. There's a couple of good seats in the front. I'm not a comedian, so you don't have to worry. I just pretend to be one. Okay, everybody, Broadband stakeholders. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're going to have to work on that. Y'all started out really good this morning. Okay, what I'd like to do, I hope all continues to go well in all of the sessions. I've been able to dip into a few of them and really think we've got a lot going so far, and we are ready to keep the ball rolling. I am going to turn it over to Gar Clark, but let me just tell you why Gar is here on this session. He was already planning to be on another session, which will be tomorrow. We had planned to have this session moderated by former Mayor of Kansas, Joe Reardon. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it due to circumstances, and he does send his regrets. I think he will still be able to join us for part of the conference, so stay tuned, be on the lookout for him if you know him. He was going to moderate, but in his stead is Gar Clark. So I'm going to just tell you briefly. Gar is from New Mexico. He is the state broadband coordinator. Similar to what we had, as I mentioned this morning, all of the states have some type of broadband effort underway. And for New Mexico, it is Gar Clark. And I am pleased to have him take the reins for the session, which I think will be very good. And remember what I said this morning, interactive is the key. So start getting those questions together, because that is what makes this more valuable for all of us.
Thank you, Stan. Hello, everybody, ladies and gents. As I said, I'm Gar Clark. I'm the New Mexico Broadband Program Manager for the state of New Mexico. Also for the Geospatial Program Manager. My background is building GIS systems. So a lot of these programs have a heavy base in the mapping world. And now I know a lot about broadband. So it's pretty thrilling. It was an incredibly thrilling place to be. Anyhow, without talking about me, which I could do for quite a while, I wasn't even in jail once, so it wasn't my fault. But anyhow, we have essentially this Floodgates or Bottleneck is the title, and I love the way Stan gets so swanky with these little names, but the Floodgates or bottlenecks. And the second part to this is broadband's impact on the growth of rural business and economic development. So we have four folks up here who can speak kindly to all of this with their knowledge. And part of this is looking at the relationship between floodgates or bottlenecks. Floodgates is you got gigabits coming flowing on in, but then you have some barriers. I know in New Mexico and here you have fiber going right across the street. In some of the tribal areas, it's right there, but they can't plug into it. And the rural business and economic development is so crucial. We in New Mexico, we've done a bunch of survey on small businesses, under 100 folks. And we're finding that those businesses that don't have web presence or also access to the internet do not survive. So we've got some statistics associated with that. So there's a direct correlation with economic development. So with that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, which is Brian Embody. He's a PhD, doctor. I got a doctor in the family too. My daughter is a doctor, PhD. Yeah, so we have a doctor in the house. So anyhow, he is a president of the community college, which I wrote down here. As you see, I'm the surrogate, so I'm still trying to figure this thing out. He is the president of the Neosho, did I pronounce that correctly? County Community College. So please, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Gar. My name is Brian Embody. Yes, I've been at Neosho County for 12 years. And I see this room very much represents what college studies have shown about where people sit and how well they do. Typically, the best students sit across the front and through the middle, the T-zone, as we call it. I worry about the folks on the end. As you can see that, like in college, no one sits up front. I might as well just put 4 chairs in all classrooms because no one actually sits there. So at Neosho County Community College, we started our own broadband network way back in 2004, 1999. The college and the city of Chanute, Kansas, and the USD, the school district, came together and we decided we wanted to speed up our internet access opportunities that we had. And so together they formed a consortium. Slightly before my time, I came in 2003, just as I was getting up and running, to form their own broadband network. And so with that, it was costly and time-consuming, and when we put it in, it was fantastic. We were able to share a server farm for those three entities, and we learned a lot of things through the years now that we wish we could go back and do again in different ways. But it's worked out fantastic. I'm going to show you how we use our broadband network, just for you tech folks. Right now we pay about $4,000 a month, and we give 150 megabytes that is dedicated to us, and then we can burst up to 1 gig. And do we burst up to 1 gig? Yes, we do. All the time. Why? Because not only at community college, we have 265 residents in our residence hall, and they are super users. And they like to watch a lot of TV. And they download a lot of stuff. And so we use a lot of our internet. What do we use it for? Why do we need that much? Well, in 2003, then, once we had the network in place, we launched our online campus. And once we had that, it's now responsible for about a quarter of our enrollment is online only. In fact, we've web enhanced every single course that we have so that you can take your exams online, you can turn in your assignments online, you're able to. So we have students now all over the state of Kansas. 99 counties are represented at our community college, and of course across the world, number one country is China. We have quite a few students there, and we're able to offer all of that because we have a strong backbone there on campus through that broadband network. And so we're able to offer other services to the community that were not there before because we have that. For instance, some businesses come in, Optimized Process Furnace comes in and uses our facility to talk with clients overseas using Skype and that sort of thing. That we have very high speeds. So that is a perfect conversation. We also have a lot of folks that use it for their doctor. The KU Med will have people come in and Skype and talk to their doctors through that system by using one of our Polycom classrooms. They'll come in and use that. We have those keeps them from having to make the trip to Kansas City a lot, so they can use our system for that as well. So we're very proud of what we've built there. Along the way, we've learned a lot of different lessons the hard way. One thing we've learned was if you're going to have a loop, make sure there's two sides of it. For instance, remember they decided before you did call this number? I wish someone had done that about a year ago when someone hit our fiber line and knocked our system out for about 3 weeks before we really got it back up and running again. But now we have two sides to our loop, so when someone cuts our fiber line, we're back up and running in a second. We also have two service providers, Level 3 and AT&T. Both support our system so that if one goes down, the other one picks up the speed there. So we've had 24/7 access because it is mission critical for how we do our work and telehealth no fury like a student who can't take his test on time. I don't know if you know about this about students. If you make it due like at 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday, they turn it in at 11:57 p.m. On Tuesday, and so if the system is down, why it's your fault. They of course was up all those times before that moment, but they want it up when they want it up. And faculty are so understanding when the system goes down. And so we make sure that system is up and running and all the time, and it's been a wonderful, it saved us a lot of money going this route. It's allowed us to expand in ways that we never thought possible before with so many different students all around. Access is what we're about. And so we've switched from, working moms who try to get away, like on Tuesday nights to take a class. Those days are now over, right? Because they can now take a class in the evening. Our number one login time to our classes is 9 p.m. What happens in the American household at 9 p.m.? Kids go to bed. So mom has been working her job all day long, whatever it happens to be, her dad. We're 67% female at our college. That we're the, as far as we're the number one female percent. You gotta like those odds if you're a guy, I guess. So there's 2 women for every 1 guy. So at 9 p.m. they put the kids to bed. They come down. They start their online classes. And so we're very proud of that fact, that we are now open access, that network allows us that ability to do that. We also have the highest, 2 things I'm very proud of. We have the highest starting salary of any community college in the state for students that graduate, $42,000 a year our students start out at on the average when they come out. Mostly because of our nursing program. We have one of the only online nursing programs in the state. We're very proud about that. The other thing we're proud of is that we are number 1 2 years running in the state with something called the Student Success Index. And that is the students that either graduate or successfully transfer on to university. 67% of our students do that. The state average is 50. So we're very proud of that. How do we do that? Services, all available online. Tutoring, counseling, advising, all available online, and we have to have a 24/7 system to make that happen. 9 p.m. is when we're still, and then we have another burst of enrollment on the logins at 2 a.m. That's the next highest time for people to log in. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when our students want to work on their stuff. So we need our system working all the time. That's why we've gone to 24-hour access to our library. Students can swipe it and use our library and use our computers anytime. So we need that system, and we built it ourselves with the help of the city and the help of the USD, and it's worked out great. So that's our story.
That's absolutely wonderful, Brian. Thank you. Next on is, and we'll have questions afterwards, so hold them and have a lot of them, please. Is Jeff Seymour. He's Executive Director of the Franklin County Development Council. So, Jeff, take it away.
Sure. Well, we are one of the partners, and I'm going to actually speak more into the mics to keep you guys awake since you guys had turkey for lunch. We're actually the joint launchers in a newer broadband network that the city of Ottawa has launched. And because I'm a visual learner, I don't know how many of you guys are, I went ahead and made a quick presentation for you guys to kind of walk through and kind of tell you some of the history of the network, what we use the network for, what we don't use the network for, and just kind of give you some more of the ins and outs of what our existing network looks like. So, single word. Just to give you some rundown, in 2012, the City of Ottawa, like the City of Chinook, realized that access to the internet was a major constraint for our area businesses, as were some other needs in the community. To kind of quantify that need, we ran a survey. Our office, the local Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Ottawa co-sponsored a survey with our existing industries to find out what their major needs were. Obviously, we kind of knew this beforehand, but access to broadband was one of the primary concerns that our businesses had. We decided and took that information and went to our existing service providers in our community and said, hey, what can you guys do to help us meet this need? And had a lot of conversations, some good conversations and robust conversations, and really at the end of the day, the service provider said to us, why don't you go and you guys can do this thing on your own. But really, based on saturation in Ottawa and the size of that market and the density of the population, really don't feel like we're going to be able to step in and provide a larger service. But if you guys want to do that, you guys can feel free. One of the things that's really important to know, I think, about broadband, especially as I work in the economic development realm, is that broadband is no longer a luxury. Broadband is as important as public infrastructure, transportation infrastructure, and public utilities. When I was preparing this conversation for you guys today, I actually reached out to a contact that I have that's a national site selector and asked her opinion on how broadband fits into the larger economic development decision matrix that they use when they make location decisions. And these are her words. And this is from Janet Ady, who's the president and CEO of 80 Voltage, which is a site selection firm out of Madison, Wisconsin. And her words were, for most projects today, broadband access is considered alongside water, sewer, electric, and gas. not having broadband to be a fatal flaw from both a business and a quality of life perspective. So I thought those were pretty interesting words and pretty telling as we talk about how broadband fits into the economic development model. So our network was launched in 2013. We used a lot of the lessons that Brian mentioned that Chinook painfully learned about their process and tried to incorporate that into a better model in Ottawa. Basically, you don't always want to lead, but it's always sometimes better to follow and learn the mistakes of others as you're going down this game. We, like the city of Chinook, built our network on existing fiber that was in the community and existing public partners. Those partners were the city of Ottawa that had some fiber to some of their assets, the county, which had some fiber in the community to some of their assets, local school district, and then actually, I think the hospital too had some public fiber that we were able to access. We built a model where we use our electric department in the community to manage the network. We've trained our electric linemen to hang fiber, and we actually monitor the network out of our electric power plant. So I know the city of Pittsburgh, we were talking to them this morning, talking about kind of the needs that businesses have, and they always say, not only is speed important and access important and cost important, but the ability to have somebody monitor my network that's close and provide technical support that's close is also a really crucial need. So we were able to address that by working with our electric department. And I actually asked our city manager, Richard Neinstedt, yesterday to give me some comments that I could share with you. And he said, really, if we didn't have and own our own electric department, broadband operated through the city would not be possible. And then we do have city information technology staff and then some third parties that provide that technical assistance. Just to give you kind of an idea of what our network looks like today, it's a total of about a 500 meg network, and that started as a 250 meg network when we launched in 2013. All of our customers are within Ottawa city limits. We have about 13 customers today, and that's a mix of public partners, industrial clients, and then some public service entities within the community. One of the proud features that we have is we were able to install this network in our largest industrial park in the county, which has probably say 15 to 20 large employers. It has about 2,000 employees, and 4 or 5 of those are on our network, which we think is a pretty big success ratio, given the age of the network. I mean, we're asking people to switch onto this network with very little real experience under our belt. And I think that if they weren't seeing constraints with their existing providers, they wouldn't have made that switch. We also have some of our downtown businesses that are on the network, some of our local banks, and a call center that's located downtown in Ottawa is actually on the network as well. And then some of our, like I mentioned, our public service entities. So what is our network? It's a provider of affordable, high-speed internet to existing Ottawa industrial and commercial businesses. It's a locally operated and monitored utility, and it's a tool to assist our existing businesses meet their needs. And it's also an important recruitment tool as we work to recruit more industry into Franklin County. And this is an important slide. My next slide is what the network is not. The network is not a replacement for private industry broadband service in our community. One of the things that we've seen as we rolled this network out is that the other service providers that were in our community stepped up and became more aggressive and provided better service to our existing industry, which is fine with me, to be honest. Our whole goal when we rolled this out was to have the broadband service provided to our industry. It didn't really matter who did it. And I'll be real honest, as a public guy, if we hadn't had to step in as a government entity, I would really rather have not. So I think that's a really important point to make. And it's also not an end-all, be-all for broadband service countywide. The only people that are on our network today are those within the city limits, and it's only in select areas within the community. We're also not the lowest cost provider of internet service, which I think is also interesting. We provide great service and affordable service, but we're not the lowest cost provider, which I think also plays in the dynamics of allowing private space to continue to play in broadband in Ottawa. And we're also not a residential service provider, which I think is also really important. When we launched this network, we did it because there was a need to provide better service to commercial businesses and industrial businesses, and that's who we're going to continue to serve moving forward. And then one other thing I would make mention of is this is not a money-making venture for the city of Ottawa. Like other utilities, the income that we receive, we plow back into reinvesting into the infrastructure and making it a more robust utility throughout the community.
Thank you, Jeff. And it's interesting to note that Ottawa, I thought it was in Canada, is in Manhattan in New York, and Pittsburgh is up north. I mean, this state's pretty interesting. But next up is Pat Flanagan, and is your family from outside Limerick? Well, ours is, but my great-grandfather, was asked to leave Ireland, so that's another story. And it wasn't his fault. Pat is a crew, chief operating officer with a company called Nice, and they talk the toys, and he'll tell you a little bit about what he's up to. Thank you.
I'm Pat Flanagan. I'm with East Providence, Kansas in Fort Scott. I believe that I'm here to represent the Bottleneck lobby. Whereas I think Lori's here to speak for all the people that are here for the Floodgates. So I did a speed test on our internet. We have wireless internet at our little place in Fort Scott. We're in the industrial park, but last night it was 3 meg down and 0.88 up. It varies from 2 to 5 down and from 0.2 to 0.9 up. So it's a little hard to do a lot of business on the internet. Oftentimes during the day, I'll yell out to everybody stop downloading porn, I've got some stuff to do. So, it makes it difficult. Our internet service is kind of hard to work with. We have 45 people. We build water tanks and fuel and lubrication beds for mine trucks, and we send them everywhere. We send them to Africa. We've got 2 we just finished for Africa. We send them to Australia, to Mexico, Canada, Philippines. So we've got a pretty global reach for a company of 45 people located in the middle of the country. And as I say, it just makes it really tough to do what you need to do when you've got that kind of internet access. And to be honest, I don't know. My partners and I bought the company 2.5 years ago. I don't know that if we were starting new, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't locate in Fort Scott. Okay? We wouldn't locate in Fort Scott just because of the internet access. But we like it in Fort Scott. We've got a great workforce there. We've got people that are artists at what they do, in a sense. We bring in sheet steel, we burn it, we bend it, we roll it, we weld it, we paint it, and then we bolt onto it pumps that we build. And they know what they're doing. So we're not going to leave, but we do have a sister company in Texas. And where we add jobs is determined somewhat by the internet access. So this is an important issue. It really, really is. And it's not that there's not internet access around. There's a fiber that runs right across the front of our property. And a fiber cable, and there's a junction box on a pole on the northeast corner of our property. And I've often thought that what I need to do is just get a hose and a drill and go out there and get some bits. But let me tell you, if you try that, some people speak to you pretty sternly. So don't do it. At any rate, where we are is a great place, but it just makes it very difficult to do anything. There are other businesses in town that have the same problem. It's hard to run any kind of an internet company with that kind of speed. So I'd be happy to answer any questions people have later about it, but that's really our problem, is that we just can't get to the internet reliably. So.
Thank you, Pat. Next, we have Lori Vanderwerk, and she's the president and the CEO of Strategic Support. And so she's going to talk about a one-woman show in the midst of Fortune 500 chaos, right? Something like that?
Close.
Okay.
I'm Lori Vandervoort. Can you hear me? No. I'm Lori Vandervoort, President CEO of Strategic Support Systems. Regardless of what it looks like when you're looking up here at the podium, I am not here to represent the woman's idea on broadband. I'm here rather as a business owner and a business owner owning it, how it can save money and grow the business. It's impossible to talk about my company, which began in 1992, without giving you a little background. I was working at Frito-Lay. My husband bought into a Toshiba telephone business system company, and ironically enough, in Chanute, Kansas, and I gave notice. A week later, I got a call from a very high-ranking Frito employee, the former president of Frito-Lay North, actually, asking if I wanted to go into business. And I said, you know, it's a great idea, and I'm flattered, but I'm moving to southeastern Kansas. He said, well, you're good with computers. Why don't you do one of those virtual office things? I don't know whether you remember or not, but in 1992, the virtual office was something of an experiment. It was one of those things you heard about. It was like a catchphrase, but didn't see often in practice. So I thought, well, we'll give it a go. We did, and grew very, very quickly. The first year, we did very well. The next year, we doubled it. The year after that, we doubled it again. For the next 4 years, we doubled our business. Then it leveled off at a more respectable amount. What these guys do in their business, and what I was doing supporting them in my virtual office, is all of the electronic presentations it takes to facilitate a meeting in which you train marketing, middle and upper managers in not only brand positioning and relaunches and product repositioning, that sort of thing. We began domestically and moved quickly to internationally. So that was fine as long as we had the shipping people available to us, whether it be the Xerox people and such, the UPS people. We reached a point where, as they say, had gone about as far as we could go. And without the broadband that became available to us, we could not have continued to support our international clients. We had something like 186 programs in the last 10 years. I'm talking about 3-day programs in someplace in Europe, someplace out of the domestic U.S., and almost as many in the U.S., with many other little meetings. It just was imperative that we have something like that. What the city of Chanute provided to us was a quick and inexpensive way to facilitate that need. When I say inexpensive, we were paying like $350 a month for what they considered high-speed internet with a service provider, who will remain unnamed. We have much better service now. We have much less cost involved with that. The fiber optic also allowed us to go voice over IP, which cut a $350 phone bill down to about $65 a month. Because we had the internet, we were now able to create our own cloud within that broadband and create the programs, the electronic programs that we would have produced and sent to them on discs or something like that, and hard copy paper as well. And what it allowed us to do was put this up on the cloud, and they download at the other end and do the printing there. So my print costs have gone considerably down, as well as the paper costs, as well as the two things we've already talked about. It just really has it's lowered my cost by about $700 or $800 a month, which allowed me to hire another part-time employee. So that's kind of where we went with that. I think if I had to sum it up, I would say that fiber optic pretty much leveled the playing field for us and allowed us to play in a larger arena of Fortune 500 companies, which we would not even have a clue, not even a way to do that, no way to approach it. So I'm thrilled with it, and I would like to see everyone have access to it, of course.
Thank you. Now, this is where you get to ask some questions. In looking at in what business and also government and relationship of the two, be thinking about how that all works and really, I just want to open up for questions. I've got some thoughts too, but we can run the microphone around. Anybody have any questions for the panel?
Good enough part? Interactive?
Way in the back.
All right.
Yeah, what you
I don't want me to turn that.
I just want to be very grateful that we're not at a site selector forum right now. Thank you, Pat. I just want to tag a little bit onto what Pat said, and Southeast News was definitely a manufacturing or economy. With manufacturing comes a lot of engineering, a lot of design, and a lot of large AutoCAD files that have to be uploaded and shared. So I just was hoping that Pat can maybe elaborate a little bit on how you transmit your drawings.
Well, I actually live in Austin and I commute, so I'm here during the week and go home on the weekends. And I bring them with me when I come, and then I take them back when we need to do it. So we will sometimes overnight a thumb drive, but I bring a thumb drive with me, and so that's what we do. Because the other day we were going to upload a file from Austin, a small file, and I was told, well, it's going to take half an hour. So, it's hard to do business when that's how you have to work. And these are sometimes some fairly sophisticated models, so it's just difficult to do when you've got that kind of internet access.
Any others? Do we have any? Something to think about too. You cannot have economic development amidst dumb and unhealthy population. So education and health are extremely important for economic development, and having a population that can respond to ideas or creativity. And but none of that can happen unless you have broadband today. As John said this morning, this utility is more like metadata because it's embedded in electricity, it's embedded in sewers. There's sensor technology in all of these utilities that require broadband, SCADA technology. So this is really important, and I know in New Mexico the legislature is just finally getting it, and we're a little slow, but they're finally getting it. So any other questions?
Curious, you mentioned the fiber running right in front of your manufacturing facility. So have you not, I'm assuming you spoke to the provider, they're not willing to make that final stretch to your business?
Well, I did speak to them, and after a couple of months of discussion, somebody was going to get back to me. And if they did, it was so traumatic that I immediately put it out of my mind. But I don't think anybody's gotten back to me yet. And I'm not really sure why. I expect the price to be higher, and it may be so high we can't afford it. But there seems to be a hesitation on the part of people that have the fiber to try and sell it to me.
Gar, I have a question. You said the legislature in New Mexico is finally getting it. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Sure. This is one of the beauties of the state broadband initiative that we have for each of the states. Is in 5 years we built this map, which in New Mexico we put it on steroids, so it's better than the national map as far as reporting more accurately the area. On top of that, we named something called CASA, which is Community Anchor Site Assessment, which is a database with all the government institutions. And I have some stuff back there, some propaganda if you want to look at it, and that how to get to our site and take a look at it. But that's turned into something really important for site management, both on the local level, agencies, as well as the private entities and whatnot. First responder stuff, such as that is being used. We built a site called nmwatch.org, which has won a national award as a result of this program. So on and on. Oh, and our digital literacy, by the way, this whole thing that was discussed from the NTIA about relevancy is really, really important because we've done some surveys in New Mexico and found out that, man, I don't need this stuff. I mean, it's just the broadband. You know, what is the internet? Well, once we teach relevancy to the communities, and they're mainly elderly too, by the way, and those that in poverty, in rural areas, once you teach the relevancy of it through digital literacy, all of a sudden they're filling up libraries. So what I'm couching this in saying all of this, in building all of this in the last 4 to 5 years, we have gone in front of the legislature a number of times, and last year we got for the school systems $10 million for 5 years, $50 million to fix the infrastructure within the facilities of the schools. We got another $5 million, which is recurring every year, to fix what's going on outside of the schools. So, so as a result, in going in front of these interim committees, that mantra that I just mentioned, that health and education can't survive without broadband, and you won't have any economic development, seems to be working because we do have some legislation now. We're meeting now for today's first day of our legislation. So problem is gas prices keep on going down, and New Mexico, for every buck that goes down in the barrel, we lose $7.5 million in surplus. So and then there's this whole thing about non-expansion of government too. So anyhow, long-winded answer. Sorry.
I have a question. Can any of the panelists touch on, in terms of the bottleneck particularly, but it's really, how do you, maybe in the college environment or the business environment, as your business is growing and you recognize the importance of your internet access, what kind of lead time do you tend to see, or what lead time do you think about in terms of your broadband? And I asked that question because I know we have a lot of service provider from the service provider community here, and I'm hoping that we can get some additional perspective and maybe they can share thoughts about how they think about the same question.
Our campus has grown tremendously. When I got to the college in 2003, there were 19 community colleges in the state of Kansas, and we were 18 of the 19 community colleges in terms of size, and now we're 9th on that list in just about 10 years. In fact, we're number 16 in the nation as fastest growing community college. And part of that was the opening of our online campus that allowed us to have that kind of growth that quickly. And so as far as we're talking about a turnaround, a lot of our turnaround comes from business and industry. They say, we want, just recently in Garnett, Kansas, they wanted an HVAC program there, and we don't have months or a year. We've got weeks to put together a program because we've got only certain start times that can come out. And so we, in Chanute, we had a company come to town, Spirit Aerosystems. And there, they were only looking at 3 communities to base their new business. All of them had community colleges because they wanted the community college to provide their training. So we found out that they were coming to town in one of those secret projects in October, and they wanted us to be ready and up in January. And so a lot of that was going to be on online training and at a new facility. So we had really 2 months before when they got they were moving there to when we were have to be up and running. So that's pretty quick. And that's community colleges. We turn on a dime and get these things up and running for something as soon as possible. So we really need all of the pieces in place and within weeks or months for businesses because they want to open tomorrow. Why can't we open tomorrow? And so that's we had some difficulty getting our Ottawa campus up and running. We decided to build it. We spent $8.4 million there building a new campus in Ottawa, and we had some trouble before Jeff's network getting our system up and running. We had 9 months of lead time from when we began breaking ground to when we needed to be up and running, and it was down to the day to get it up. And so it was up, but it was a lot of sleepless nights in there for my guys before they got it up. But so that's the kind of to answer your question, and that's what we're talking about.
For a little bit different take, what we're doing now is as we build out our other utility infrastructure in the community, particularly our electric utility, we are making sure that we have the ability to add broadband into those areas where commercial and industrial service would be required. So our lead time is trying to be anticipatory. We just recently purchased a large tract of acreage for a new industrial park, and it's across the interstate. So when we costed out our electric service that we would run to that area, we included the cost of doing broadband to make sure that that was something that we'd already factored into planning ahead there. So we didn't have to come back and say, oh, do you want broadband too? That was already out there. So we're just trying to kind of stay ahead of the game at this point. As we build out other utilities, we're building on broadband as well.
I had somebody ask me this question just yesterday. And that was, when are we going to get high-speed access? And all I could tell them was, well, not this year probably, and I don't know about next year. And to be honest, I'm not, I think we may be going around about it the wrong way, but I think it occurred to me that 250 years ago, if you were on a river, your town had a chance to grow. It wasn't assured that it was going to grow. 150 years ago, if you were on a railroad, you had a chance to grow. 50 years ago, if you were on a highway. I think now, if you don't have internet, you're not going to grow. It's the only chance you've got to grow. And I think when private companies developed canals, they developed roads, turnpikes, they developed railroads. Towns in Kansas incorporated a railroad company and built a railroad to a spur line. I think we've got to think outside the box. I think if we wait for government to do it for us, it's not their job to get internet access. And I think we're going to have to work with people that have a different model about how to do this. And I think that's the only way it's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years for us.
For my particular company, it has allowed us to further facilitate the international part of it. We now have offices in Chicago as well as Chennai, in Austin. We have an office in Bangkok to handle the international things. It just has given us so many opportunities. It's amazing how that works. We could not continue an international business. As I said before, we've gone about as far as we could go. Now, all the doors are open to us again, and we can pretty much write our own ticket from here on. It's a good feeling. I'm glad we've got it.
Any other questions?
Similar challenges, opportunities. The question I have, are there any thoughts amongst the collective audience here about collaboration, how these types of issues might be worked at in a collaborative manner? The panelists aren't presupposed to have the answers, but I thought the point might be suggested in some of the knowledge in the room along those lines of collaboration that I talked about in the foundation.
Well, we wouldn't be able to do what we did without the city and the USD coming together. There's no way a little community college, 18th out of 19, was able to build this thing. So we needed partners to pull it off, and we all came together and pooled our resources in order to accomplish it. So it was really coming together of those entities to make it happen. So that's you got to have those, and with the service providers to bring the service to the town at AT&T and now Level 3 to help us, to power that network. So we need a lot of entities working together to make that happen. And so now it's there and it's working really well, and it just shows you the power of partnership, because if we each try to do it ourselves, it would have cost the taxpayers a lot more than when we were us working together. Now we have one server farm, not three. We have one network administrating system, not three, and so that's really helped all of us move forward to put those resources to other areas.
I just echo Brian's comments, and one thing I note about our network too is learning from what Chinook did. It also gave us a chance to kind of explore their cost model and their service model, and really think through all that before we just launched out and created our own network. Like Brian mentioned, without the collaboration between the city, the public entities that had existing fiber, and the trust of the new customers that we put on the system, we wouldn't have been able to launch. If we had spent all that money and not had customers at the end of the day, it wouldn't have flown, and it really wouldn't have meant anything to anybody. So just echo Brian's comments again, that it was all about collaboration. And I always say in economic development, it's a team sport, and I think this is a good example of that.
I guess, before I was trying to say that government doesn't have any role in here, and I think that collaboration can help. I feel that if we all just wait for somebody else to do it, it's not going to happen.
In addition to collaboration, Pat, your business, we have a business that is in a little town called Milan. Talk about misplaced names in Santa Fe. But there's a business there that is going to do online training for the Association of Contractors. And one of the beauties about that is that government came in and partnered with this group to leverage the provider to stop acting badly. And it wasn't threatening or anything. It just said, no, we need this for economic development. And so that could be a possibility where you can pal around with some bigger wheels, although you've got big wheels in your shop, is to develop that collaborative. It was helpful in New Mexico. All right, any last minute questions, thoughts, hopes, desires? No, we won't go there. Anyhow, panel members, thank you very much. It was very informative and enjoyable.